Revival is not just people praying loud. Revival is a testimony of a people that are completely submitted to God. In Acts of the Apostles chapter 15 verse 26, he said Paul and Barnabas, he said these be the men that hazarded their lives for the gospel. I read stories of revival and I told myself, Lord help me. This Christianity we are doing, have we begun? Have we begun? People that were so submitted to God, they were willing to let go of everything. I read the story of how the Bible was transited from one generation to generation. There were many families, when they know you have a copy of the Bible, they tie you to the stake and they burn your family in your presence. You watch your family burned for you to bring the Bible. This man will say no. Just because they wanted the Bible, because the goal was to burn every remaining word of God, so that a generation will not have the word of God. Men were willing to give up their families for the word of God to be transferred. And today we have the Bible, we throw a copy on the bed, throw one on the wheel. We don't know the spirit of revival. It's a spirit of absolute submission to God. I read the story of Perpetua and Felicity. A woman and her slave, pregnant. They gave her an option to deny God or they will kill her. She said she will not. They kept her in prison until she was delivered of her baby, and they brought her to the arena. A woman who just gave birth, injured all over, but there was conviction too strong that could not be changed. They brought her to the arena and she was torn apart by white beasts. Those were the things that fueled the conviction of the church. The church of the first order were not powered by testimonies of God bless you. They were powered by the deaths of the martyrs that refused to deny the faith. So even in the face of death, they stood their ground. That's why when you study church history, you will never find birthdays. It's only death days they found, because your death was more important than your birth. They want to know, how did you depart from this world? What was the depth of your conviction? What were you able to withstand for God? I read the story of Polycarp, the bishop of Smyrna, who was the disciple of John the Beloved. He was 86 years old when they came to abduct him, and they told him he could escape. He said no. He wanted to leave a testimony for the church. Even though he had opportunity to escape, he stood there, and when his captors came, he gave them food to eat, and when they finished, he followed them out. And they told him to deny Jesus. He said, for 86 years my master have been good to me. How can I deny him at this hour? And they wanted to tie him, to burn him. He said, no, don't bother. I've spoken with the Lord already. I have the stamina to stand. And he was born to death. And while he was dying, he was singing hymns. And when the church heard it, there was a revival. The second message of revival is the message of martyrdom, that a generation will be baptized with the spirit of death, and even in the face of death, they will not bow. They will stand their ground, and their conviction will become a testimony in the spirit. We have a church today that comes to God only for what God offers. We don't know the church that is willing to give up herself anymore. He said, time will fail me to speak of Gideon, to speak of Barak, to speak of Samuel and the prophet, who through faith subdued kingdom. They wrought righteousness. They obtained promises. He said, weak men were made valiant in battle. He said, in the face of deliverance, they denied it, that they may receive a better resurrection. He said, men were sawn asunder. Women received their dead back to life. What was the power that regulated them? It was the spirit of martyrdom. Jesus came. He said, some of you will be in prison for 10 days. He said, but if you do not deny my name, I will give you a crown of life. The power of revival is the power over death. That when the church is marching on, she doesn't bother what is by her way. None will break their rank. They can walk through fire. They can walk through death. Their testimony will remain the same. It is always Jesus. We will not be careful to answer you in this matter. You can make the fire 7 times hotter. We will not bow. Oh King, we will not bow. You can make it 7 times hotter. We will not bow. And even while they were being thrown to death, they were singing songs of praise. And suddenly the king saw a 4th man in the fire. Is it not 3 men we threw into the fire? How come I see 4 men? And he said the 4th man looks like the son of the highest. When we embrace martyrdom, then the outpouring can come. If our gospel is about what God can give alone, then we are not ready for revival, because there's a place where your life will be demanded of you. In Matthew 24 from verse 9, it says you will be delivered up for affliction, you will be delivered up to be killed. It said many will hate you. It said there will be betrayers and there will be offenses, because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. But it says him that endures to the end. It's not he that I deliver, he that endures to the end. There is a place where our testimony becomes the texture of our endurance. What can you stand for Jesus? What can you survive for Jesus? When we preach revival, we preach the verdicts of death, that a generation must rise that can endure fire for Jesus. A generation must rise that can endure death for Jesus. A generation must rise that can endure hatred for Jesus. For me to perish, I will perish, if that is what it takes. Revival comes on the shoulders of martyrs. How many things can we give up? How many things can we endure? Church is not only a place of excitement, it's a ground where we learn how to die, because the Lord, he killeth and he maketh alive.